formed in 1944 by a group of vegetarians who realized that there was more cruelty involved in milk production than in meat production. This realization shocked them into pioneering a way of life that is of the utmost importance in feeding the hungry millions today and our children tomorrow. Milk production is cruel because calves are taken from their mothers soon after birth and sent to the slaughterhouse or veal calf units so that humans can have the milk. Cows often cry for their babies for days, and after repeated pregnancies, worn-out cows are butchered as soon as their milk yield drops. Eva is chairman of our vegan council. Tell us, Eva, how you became a vegan.
I remember very clearly, Erica, although it was nearly 20 years ago. There was this railway station platform and there were some cows herded at one end and they were making a very pathetic noise. And at the other end were baby calves, very, very young, and they too were crying for the mother cows. And of course I asked an official why couldn't they be put together? And he explained that the cows were going to market and the calves were going to the butcher. To the butcher, I said. Why? Well, he said, you can't have milk unless cows keep having calves. And you can only rear a few of those calves as cows. Most of those other poor little things will be in veal and ham pies before long. This shook me. I hadn't realized that milk production was responsible for all the suffering and slaughter. I had pictured placid, gentle cows happily grazing in green pastures, and I thought how kind the farmers were to relieve them of their milk. I turned again to the cows because one was nudging my shoulder, trying to attract my attention. And as I turned, she gazed straight into my eyes, and there was a real message. That's the time it came through to me. I knew then I could never drink milk again. And I hadn't. But believe me, I had a terrible time over that weekend, just wondering how I was going to manage. I knew people could live well without meat, but without milk, I really thought I was going to die. So you can imagine how delighted I was when I discovered that there were other people who were living happy, healthy lives as vegans, thinking the way I did.
So, what are we talking about this week?
So, we've got the lovely part 2, haven't we, of Roger Yates' interview?
We certainly have. Great interview. I didn't want to cut any out, so we talked for nearly 3 hours, so there's a little bit that I cut out, but not
it's
much.
all really good quality content, isn't it?
Yes.
You don't want to miss any of it, really.
No, you don't want to. Have you got anything you need to say this week? Can't think of anything.
No, not.
It's only been a short while since we recorded last.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to think what's happened, but I think all I've done is worked.
Yeah. Oh, bless you. In this heat.
And got bigger.
And got bigger. Yeah. By the way, you are pregnant. If anybody missed last week, she is pregnant. So, but anyway, we digress. It is 30 degrees, so excuse us if we look like we're sweating. It is 30 degrees. We need a fan in here. Mind you, the fan only contributes to the global warming if you think about it, unless you're using renewable electricity.
Yes, Dale Vince.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dale Vince, we need your electricity, please. But apart from that, yeah, it's 30 degrees. Talking of hot, we went to Bath on Saturday and we were doing Viva in Bath.
Yeah, you did. I saw some lovely pictures. It all looked really, really nice.
Yeah, it was great. We thought there's this fella called Martin who usually comes up to our outreach, and he comes up with he does the inflatable animals.
He does, yeah.
Yeah. So we thought he comes every time virtually. So we thought it's about time we paid him back because he's co-host to Bath Fever. And we met all the lovely volunteers out there. And Jo, who is the, what would you call her? The boss of all the hosts.
Yeah, like the area manager.
There you go, area manager. That's probably a better word. She's probably got a better title than that. But yeah, that's that. So, it was good. And afterwards, because we finished about 1 o'clock because it was so hot, we went to a little eating place, completely vegan. Apparently, Bath is quite good for
I hear it's
eating
quite
vegan.
Good. Yeah.
They've got this cafe called Plant Eat Licious, and it's down some stairs, down in a basement, and it's really nice.
Oh, nice.
And Dad had like a mushroom dish, and first time I've ever had it. I've never had it before. Tempeh.
Oh, I love tempeh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just slightly nuttier than
Yeah.
tofu, isn't it? So, yeah.
Is it seasoned or...
Yeah.
Like marinated? Or,
Yeah, marinated tempeh. I guess it was like in paprika or something.
Nice.
And then it was on some toast, and it was topped with, as you can see on the screen now, it was topped with like salad and
lovely.
edamame beans. It was really, really nice.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Nice colourful dish as well.
Yes, very nice. But yeah, apart from that, not really done anything mad. The only thing I did want to talk about is ever since I've spoken to Roger Yates, I've really got into looking up the history of the Vegan Society.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much of the interview away that's coming up, but I've really been looking it up and looking on YouTube as well. We accidentally came across this video. I will put the link in the notes of the YouTube. It's called Open Door, the Vegan Society, and it's like a BBC documentary, and I think it's from about 1976. Now, if you can get past the funny hairstyles and the funny dress sense, it is a really good documentary.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's quite ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they interview scientists, and the scientists say that, like, well, I don't want to give it all away, but they say that you can live a vegan diet. You can live eating a vegan diet, as long as you get vitamin B12. So it's like really ahead of its time. It's absolutely amazing. But one thing that caught my eye was they were interviewing two families on there, and one of them was the Bray family. Well, that's our surname, isn't it? So, of course, we got quite interested in it, and my other daughter, Neve, she tried to look them up to see if there was any relation. Anyway, she linked them to this book, and it's called Mothers and Children, Vegan Mothers and Children, and it's a little booklet by the Vegan Society, and I bought it online. It only cost me a couple of quid, but it's like an old book from the 80s, early 80s.
Lovely.
And it's actually got, I don't know whether you can see this, let's have a look.
So this sort of book, would you have to find it, would it be on Amazon?
I got this off an Amazon seller, and it's no longer available, apparently. So I don't know whether someone else has got any more copies out there. I have been looking up to see if I can get more Vegan Society stuff, because I really like the thought of looking back. I really love the history of it all and what they thought at the time. Now, let me see. There we go.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting what Roger Yates says about it all as well.
Yeah, it is, which is coming up, and we'll probably talk about in a minute. But what I did find was a bit unfortunate name, because the other family they interviewed was the Bland family, which I thought was an unfortunate name, really, because people think that vegans are dull and bland, and they've actually got the name Bland. But I'm sure that, I mean, they seem very lovely people.
Far from it, yeah.
Yeah, far from it. They're also in the book as well. And that's a picture of them. Well, I think it's a picture of them. But this book is really quite interesting because it's all about bringing up your child vegan. This was back in the 70s, so it was totally unheard of.
Yeah,
then.
we want to do like a cast off episode of that.
Yeah, a special episode. But they also got you've got festive recipes, party specials.
Lovely.
And like a little food for the future leaflet. Yeah, it's really quite interesting.
Because back then they wouldn't have had half the stuff as what we have now.
No, and funnily enough, if you watch the documentary, they show a bit of a spread of what you can eat. Things that to show that vegan food isn't boring, and they showed the vegan cheese, and it looked a bit like a house brick to me. So if you think that vegan cheese now is rubbish,
yeah,
think of back then and how much progress they've made in the last 40 years then, 40 or 50 years. So, yeah, I just thought that. This book is 46 years old, because I think it's 45 years old, because it's from 1981. That's 45, isn't it? 45 years old, so I'm going to really treasure that and look after it. Anyway, if you've got nothing else to say, should we play the interview?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Enjoy.
Hey, Earthlings, welcome along to yet another vegan time tunnel. Hey, Mr. Lee. Hello. Earthlings of the world, hello, everyone.
So, how is your outreach presenting itself now? So, what do you actually do?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I take the emphasis off the diet, and so if people come up, what's all this about then, type of thing. Mm-hmm. Now, some vegans say, oh, well, we're vegans, so we don't eat this, we don't eat that, we don't eat, and all that. I don't do any of that. I talk about what we're for. I said, this is veganism. It's a philosophy of non-violence. It's a philosophy of justice. It's a justice for all thing. It was born in wartime. The founders of our movement declared peace during this global conflict, and they stand for justice for all. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody goes, oh, that's good, right? And they're not talking about their food. The thing that they're defensive about is going to be their food. So there's no point in talking about that. And then they'll say things like, but you can't eat this and you can't eat that. I always say, well, I can. I know how to chew. It's just that I won't eat that. I've got a moral reason for not doing it, right? So you're taking it back to morals again, okay? Every time they want to talk about something else, oh, that's cruel, isn't it? And all that, take it back to the morals. So that's how I do it. And it pays off in the sense that, kind of lost count really now, a number of times people go, I never thought of it that way. And one guy came up once and looked at our banner, it's about rights violations, and he kind of goes, this is wrong, you're against cruelty. And I said, well, read the banner, that's what our position is. And he started arguing with me about my own position. Because he'd spoken to vegans before, and they'd told him it was all about animal cruelty. Now, he's got the wrong end of the stick, but that's our fault. If you went on the radio, tomorrow or whatever, and the journalist starts asking you about animal cruelty or about diet or about recipes, that's our fault as a movement. Because when I was a press officer, it's changed now, of course. I'm a boring old fart when it comes to this now. Before the internet, you developed a relationship with journalists, right? Mm-hmm. Now, part of that, and I think the movement is bad at this, part of it is explaining to people what you're not in order to explain to them what you are.
What you are, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so even if you were to say, look, veganism is not an animal welfare thing. It's more animal rights, which is exactly what Leslie Cross said twice in 1951. He said, we're not so much welfare as freedom. And he also said, we came out on the side of the liberators. They said all this, And when they defined veganism, it was about exploitation, which they used interchangeably with use. Now, those phrases are possibly problematic. Also, if there's no exploitation involved, you don't have to bother. So if you're running over our fellow animals with your car, you're not exploiting them, you're just killing them. So obviously so you have to have a bit of work done in terms of the linguistics of that. But they had a strong message. And now, of course, we've got the official definition, which is much weaker than what the founders talked about. Like Watson said, this is 1945. He said, the object of the vegan society is to oppose the exploitation of sentient life. Now, that's a pretty strong sentence. He even had a little rider saying, whether it's profitable to do so or not. Says it's not about money, it's about morals, right? Now, that's pretty strong. Now what we've got is this official thing, practicable and possible and all that kind of stuff, the official definition. Now, a lot of people say that Donald Watson wrote that in the 1940s. It's not true. That was written between 1979 and 1988, when the Vegan Society was moderating and professionalizing. And if you look at the sociology of that, people like Corey Lee Wren, they'll tell you that when a social movement professionalizes, starts to get staff, they tend to moderate their message because money is more important.
Sure.
Keeping their staff is more important and all this kind of stuff. And then there's another quite quirky thing about social movements, which you can't really do much about, but it has happened to the vegan movement. When a movement takes off, there's this phrase in social movement theory called movement takeoff. It gets bigger, it gets known, it gets much more visible, lots of people join. That's actually a threat to the movement, because what you've got then is a lot of people joining who don't have the same core values of the people who started it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And so that's what happens with lots of groups. Even happens in business, which is why you end up with board meetings where the founder of a company gets voted out, right? That happens a lot, right? But it happens in social movements too, that you get a lot of people come in and go, I've started to lose track of people who say, I don't give an S about the values of the founders of our movement. That was then, this is now. It's got nothing to do with me and all this kind of stuff. Whereas they said, and this again is Cross, it's quite interesting. The movement is founded in 44, properly came into being in 45, right? And then 4 years later, in 1949, Leslie Cross goes, we don't have a definition of veganism, don't you? Right? And so the first 4 years of the vegan social movement didn't have a definition of veganism. Now, it had a definition of the vegan diet, but he says we need a definition of the philosophy of veganism.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what they set in motion, right? And he said that actually it's probably quite good that we don't have a definition so far, because the movement was really chaotic at the beginning. Poor old Donald Watson ended up doing everything, chief cook and bottle washer and all the rest of it. He was doing all the work. And the reason for that is because they didn't even want to start a social movement. Our movement wasn't supposed to be a movement. And it's the vegetarians' fault. Now, this is a brilliant story, right? The vegetarians did the vegans a massive favour. So Elsie Shrigley, Donald Watson go trot along to the Vegetarian Society and say, we'd like a non-dairy section, please. They said, no, we want to carry on being just vegetarians. If you want to do that, go off and do it. So they went off and did it. The first thing they did is come up with a name, which they called veganism, right? And then there was a big, strong emphasis on health at the time. The reason for that is because all the vegetarians and the doctors told the people who started our movement that they were going to die. Because it was thought in those days, the kind of medical consensus in those days was that human beings could not survive without products derived from our fellow animals. Now we know that's not true. But that was the medical orthodoxy at the time. So this is what, again, our pioneers had to fight the way through.
Yeah.
First of all, they had to even prove that veganism on a dietary level was even possible. Right? I mean, obviously, as a thought pattern, it was, because it's a set of ideas.
Yeah.
But could you actually do it in practice? And everybody said, you can't do it, you'll die. So they proved that wasn't correct, right? So it took a few years. And then Leslie Cross goes, right, so now we've got that sorted out, we're not going to die, let's sort out the philosophy. So by 1954, with a brilliant essay called The Surge of Freedom, vegan philosophy was in place, you know, and it was radical, abolitionist, said it all the time. This is not about making things easier, this is about abolishing these exploitative industries. They said that, right? And that's what veganism was. Right? And then from, say, well, I probably want to say mid-60s, starts to moderate a little bit, gets a bit more welfare-y and stuff. The vegan society start working with compassionate world farming.
Yeah.
They start doing live export kind of things and that kind of stuff. And so the radical message of the 1940s, 50s founders kind of dissolved a little bit. And so now, I mean, this causes a bit of even a kind of democratic problem within the movement, because you could say for the majority of time that the vegan movement has existed, it's not being consistently in tune with the founders of the movement. Now, that sounds a bit odd, but it's true, right? So for the majority of time, the most vegans that have ever existed and joined the vegan society, I wouldn't think that many of them even know who the founders are.
No.
I mean, you know, the vegan society doesn't make much of a fuss about it.
No.
You know? And as soon as Leslie Cross stopped writing for The Vegan, which was late 50s, forgotten about. And nobody referenced him. They had to reference Watson because he was seen as the main co-founder, if you like, or at least so they were stuck with Watson. And the great thing about Watson is, I think what happened was the Watson radicalized Cross radicalized Watson. Right? So towards the end of his life, Watson was making some fairly strident claims. This is the greatest cause on earth. It's the only movement now that can save humanity, this kind of stuff. That the vegan society, by definition, he said, was about saving humans and our fellow animals and all this kind of stuff. And he made periodic appeals to the movement not to lose sight of the vision of the founders. But it has. We don't have that. So the only way to get it back would be to go back.
Yeah.
In philosophical terms or whatever. I mean, there are some people who are moving forward. You know, we talked about Leonard. You know, there's an idea now called veganism 2.0, which basically is just out and out animal welfareism, right? And they're saying the best thing to do is not be a campaigner, is just to give money to the big groups like Mercy for Animals and stuff. I mean, Mercy for Animals recently got a $12.5 million donation.
Really?
For their corporate welfare campaign. Animal Equality got less, but they also got millions for their corporate welfare thing. So there's no wonder if you've got a money-orientated movement and people will give you money for welfare, but not for rights, or for veganish, but not for vegan. Well, you can understand why there is pressure to lower the standards and stuff. So it's kind of almost like an economic thing in the end. And so the only way to solve it is with the grassroots.
By the sound of it.
Yeah, but is it possible? You know, I mean, like, academics complain about their modern day students. They're not very political and all that kind of stuff. When I came into the movement, you know, I often tell the tale, you know, we'd go sabbing on a Saturday, we'd do something illegal on a Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday, rock against racism gigs, and then we'd join the feminists for a, you know, reclaim the night. All of it was just all together in those days. There was no kind of, oh, you know, let's keep veganism separate from that. It was all, you know, if you stood for justice, we're with you. You know,
John said about this, that you all work together.
Yeah. Mel Broughton says the same as well. I don't know if you interviewed Mel Broughton, but he's very similar to John. You know, he wants to concentrate on the animal rights movement, not veganism, you know. And of course that kind of means, it's interesting because welcoming non-vegans into the movement, right? Now I can understand why there is a worry with some people that if we are a movement of vegans, then people go, oh, I'm not joining that, or I can't join that, I'm not a vegan, right? Whereas it used to be that anybody could join because, say, you're an anti-vivisectionist. Lots of anti-vivisectionists were eating animal flesh, right? Now, that sounds weird to our modern vegan ears, but it was true. A lot of the SABs weren't vegan. A lot of the ALF activists weren't vegan. Right. Now, this sounds weird, right?
But would they go, some of them go eventually vegan?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
That's right. But that's where my division of labour comes in, because say you've got, let's say you've got vegans running the single issue to close down the Greyhound Stadium. They're doing that. You get non-vegans joining, dog lovers, greyhound lovers, and all this kind of stuff. They're rubbing shoulders then with vegans. And so then the chances are that they're going to learn about veganism and go vegan, right? And so the division of labour even works on that level as well, leaving the vegan educators separate. I said in a recent video that I want a divorce. I want the vegans to divorce themselves from the less than vegan stuff, so they can concentrate on veganism and really go, okay, let's take Ronnie seriously all the time and everywhere. How do we bring that about? Well, you don't bring that about by, you know, trying to scrap factory farms and stuff, you know. I mean, the latest slingshot campaign doesn't make any sense to me, but a lot of vegans support it. The latest thing from Viva, the cracked thing, makes absolutely no sense to me from a vegan point of view, and yet you've got lots of vegans supporting it. They all go, oh, we need to ban the cages. Well, what then? You know, I mean, when I came into the movement in 1979, with that false start in 77, the ban the battery cage was already going. That was a campaign already, right? Little did they know that what they would do is they would invent something called the enriched battery cage.
Yeah.
Right? Because, of course, they're going to try and get around it in the same way as the fox hunters got around it.
Yeah.
And in the same way, in a different way, but the same way as the fur farmers got around it. I mean, all the fur farms that have closed down around the world now, the fur farmers are multimillionaires. I don't know if you know that. Because of the compensation, right? And so I've always said I don't understand that campaign either. I understand the fur shop thing, because that's the demand side. But if you think about the fur farms, you close a fur farm down, no one gets saved, they get transferred, right? They often get transferred to what the campaigners complain about as being somewhere with worst welfare, like China and Russia, for example. And then through compensation, the fur farmers that the campaigners have been calling animal abusers for years become multimillionaires. What are animal abusers going to do with their new millions? They're not going to open a tofu factory, are
No,
they?
of course they're not.
No.
No.
So I don't understand that campaign either.
No.
Never have, and nobody's ever been able to explain it to me. You know, I once had a conversation with somebody very in favour of banning fur farms, and I said, well, nobody gets saved, and the person said, I don't care. And I said, they get transferred to places with worse welfare, and the person said, I don't care. And I said, and the fur farmers become multi-billionaires. And the person said, I don't care. Answered all those 3 points with I don't care. I just want to see the end of fur farms in my country. And then we can call it a victory. What Pendergrass said in the audio that I've just posted is that his PhD was about that there are some people or activists who need victories, and they don't see getting more vegans as a victory. What they're looking for is a closed down sign on a farm or something, or a laboratory. That to them is a victory, right? Whether it has any actual effect.
Why is it more of a victory to them then?
Because they've closed something down, and it's kind of, got them, you know.
They've achieved that. Do you think that's what it
I
is?
think some people have got a psychological kind of need to have victories. Otherwise, they're going to lose heart. They're going to burn out. And if you don't have a whole series of victories,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, loads of authors talk about that. You know, that we do have a, you know, we're campaigners. If you don't think you get anywhere, are you going to continue? Whereas if you're getting these milestones along the way, it kind of keeps you at it, you know. And for the national groups, more donations, please. You know, we've done that one, we've banned that, or we've stopped this. Now we're going to move on to this. We need more funds. So it's a little bit of a, I was going to say con, but that's wrong. I mean, you know, I do like to think that people are very sincere in their activism. It's just that some of their activism I don't quite understand.
No.
It doesn't seem to be kind of thought through to me, you know. And I suppose it's because I refuse to look at anything in a non-abolitionist way. I always look at it from an abolitionist point of view. There are some people also, I think, which is true, they are quite defeatist. I don't know whether you've heard this, but you often get, we'll never have a vegan world. And that's vegans saying that, right? And so if you convince yourself that you'll never get a vegan world, you then go, okay, so what can I do to make things better in the, you know, for the rest of my life, kind of thing. If you've convinced yourself that achieving a vegan world is not possible, and I suppose, let's face it, look around the world now at the moment, with all these right-wing governments, all the war, genocides going on, you've got a fascist running the States, you've got right-wing people making big strides in Britain, right? Well, it's possibly quite easy to say that. My answer to that question, even though I've posed it myself, is I'm going to carry on because I could be wrong. So even if I concluded that we'll never get a vegan world, I'm going to carry on because I could be wrong. And of course I would hope that I was wrong. I would hope with all my heart that I was wrong about that. Right? So I'm not going to give up and transfer to something less than vegan. You know. Also, you've got this other thing as well. There's some really interesting sociology on this. Is if you are a welfarist, you don't actually have to campaign for welfare to get welfare. I explain that. There's a guy called Richard Gale. Right. Now, when we talk about movements and counter movements, we usually talk about there's a movement and a counter movement. So you could say, you know, the animal rights movement and the meat trade. Right. That's the counter movement to us. Right. And Richard Gale said there's also the state and the state agencies, like the ministers, in control of it. So if the social movement causes what I've called social turbulence, they get a lot of press, there's lots of stuff going on, what tends to happen is that people then start writing to the minister or whatever and say, you know, do something about this.
Yeah.
Then the minister contacts the industry and says, I'm getting a lot of shit here, do something. And the only thing they can do is welfare. I mean, they can't do animal rights because that means shutting down.
Shutting themselves down.
Yeah, they're shutting them down. So what they'll do is they'll do welfare. Circuses have done that for years, right? Well, we can do a bit of welfare, or a slaughterhouse will do some welfare, and the ministry is basically saying, give me something I can tell the people who are on my back, right? So you end up with welfare, and you're actually campaigning for rights. So it's a weird kind of truism that you don't actually need to campaign for welfare to get it, right? And in fact, sometimes you might get welfare quicker if you don't campaign for it. And the reason for that is that if you Peter were terrible at this. I don't know whether they still do it. They kind of read all the trade things and they see something that's on its last legs or something, and then launch a campaign against it. Well, that pisses them off, and then they resist it as well. So if a counter movement you could see as a trade union for the business in, like the circus proprietors thing.
Yeah.
Right. And exotic animals are getting unpopular with the public and all that. But then if you launch a campaign against it, that's going to piss them off and make them push back.
Yeah.
Right? So it's actually easier to let it die out because it's going to do anyway. And that's what all these groups do. They look at the animal welfare science. They see the changes. I mean, at one time, Peter, the group, were campaigning for the gas chambers in Canada. They were campaigning for KFC to put chickens through gas chambers, not the usual way. The stunning with the water.
With the bath,
yeah, all that. And in those days, it was called controlled atmosphere stunning. I actually wrote a report about it.
Right.
When it was in its experimental stage, what became the gas chambers, they had problems with air pockets, for example. And so if you've got small beings like chickens, if you've got individuals who find these air pockets, they're not going to become unconscious, right? And so the scientists, they were talking about creating turbulence to dissipate the air, right? Because gas chamber is kind of a misleading phrase. What they're actually doing is taking the oxygen out. They're not putting the gas in a way, right? So I'm sure now that Peter are campaigning against the gas chambers that they 5-6 years ago were campaigning for. But they're all looking for the win because they need the victories because that's where they get members from. When they get their members, they get their jobs.
Yeah.
The grassroots, the beauty of the grassroots is that you bypass all that because you've got no one to keep happy.
No.
You've just got a position, and your position then can be pure, if that's in danger of being called a purist. But your position can remain solid because you don't have to do all the politicking and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's much better, I would think.
Yeah, much more effective.
But, I mean, whether we've got the same type of people now, I know this sounds a bit weird, but I don't know whether they're the same type of people. You see, the people who were in the grassroots in the 80s, they were kind of, I think the actual phrase is self-actualizers. They would see a problem and they go, right, what we're going to do about this, get a few mates together, get a photocopier, get down there, a few banners and all that. They weren't waiting around to be told what to do. Now, if you look at the groups, even the ones who call themselves grassroots, it's all rule bound. They've got pages after pages of rules. The people in the 80s would have gone, no thanks, mate, we're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
And because they're doing their own thing, there's loads of stuff going on. Groups popping up all over the place. Then they would start to have regional meetings. Then you have regional events. And then they would support the national marches and stuff. So you'd have local groups, regional groups, national stuff going on, sabbing going on, and all the rest of it. It was a very dynamic time. I don't want to over-romanticize it. But, I mean, you got that impression from John
Yeah.
as well. That, you know, the 80s, it was kind of go, 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 go.
Yeah.
It really was.
And yet it's ironic, really, because now you would think it would be easier to do all that sort of thing.
I know. That
It's
is weird.
mad.
Yeah, we've got the internet now.
Yeah, I was going to say, because of the internet, you
know.
would...
It's actually harder to get people together now than when you didn't have the internet. I mean, we used to go, when I was in North Wales, you go around knocking people up to go sabbing. You know, you'd be up at 5:30 because you had to go and wake everybody up, you know, and drag them into the van.
Yeah.
You know, and all that. But now you've got the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, like, your question is really valid. How can it be harder? You know, a lot of people say that COVID had knocked the stuffing out of activists.
I've heard this said.
Yeah, do you think it's true?
Maybe. Don't know. I don't know. Just people's attitudes have
Loads
changed.
of people say it.
Yeah.
Oh, everything changed after COVID.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. There's some kind of weird social psychology there. Because obviously all that is gone now. There's no reason. I mean, like, we struggle to get people on the street. Ronnie says the same. Also, we're struggling to get young people involved.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. If you set up a vegan cupcake party, they'll turn up. But you set up an outreach event, they won't. It's a mystery. And everybody's saying that as well. That our group, we've got the old timers. I mean, in the group that's doing most vegan outreach in Dublin, the organizer is 74, and then you've got 2 other main volunteers, myself and someone else, and we're both coming up to 69. Now that's wrong. You know,
Is it? Why do you any idea?
I mean, we should have all these youngsters kind of elbowing us out of the way, kind of move aside, old man. You know, it's not happening.
Are they frightened to do it?
Frightened, or is it time, or is time better spent somewhere else?
I don't know.
Because I often think that with I've actually had
And if it is, what else?
I've had a conversation with my son over this, like going vegan, and he always says that he'll go vegan in a few years' time. And I say, why in a few years' time?
Yeah,
why not now?
That's a great help.
But and I always say to him, are you scared of being different? And I do wonder that, whether some young people are scared of being different.
It's always been that. They even talked about that in the 1940s. That once they sorted out the fact that vegans are not going to die, then, so it's not health, it's not nutrition, it's always the social side. And as a sociologist, I can say that that is true. You know, most people are conformists. You know, quintessential sociological saying is that we're free and unfree at the same time. Everybody will tell you that they're an autonomous individual, but they like being in the herd as well. It's comforting. You take somebody out of their comfort zone. You know, it's like, I mean, the classic example you go, you take a kind of belligerent straight person and put them in a gay bar, see how they get on then. You know, they're completely out of their comfort zone, and it's easy for us to do that. It doesn't take much of a tweak to do that. And so, yeah, that's what happens. And so, if you label yourself something that people are going to react to, well, maybe you can see it.
I do wonder whether, like, older people are maybe more comfortable in their skin. You know, more comfortable.
Yeah.
I know I've got more comfortable as I've got older.
What's the phrase? They've got less shits to give.
There you go.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't care what people think about me. You know, but of course a younger person possibly would.
It's all about being cool when you're young, isn't it?
And then you've got the pairing off thing. I mean, I was always lucky, you know, finding vegan partners and stuff. But I mean, you see this on the internet. You know, are you with a non-vegan partner, and what's that like? Because it's not easy. So I do think there's a lot of people who are isolated. And I do a long Christmas show, which is a live stream. I think the longest one was 10 hours, I think.
Oh,
And-
really?
Yeah, and I think
Wow.
I've had a 6-hour one and an 8-hour one. I think the longest one was 10. And I've got loads of people to tell a little story about, kind of all. And the idea is, I've always got in mind the group of people who might be having their first vegan Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I think, right, I'm going to create a vegan space for them to go to, somewhere where they can be with people who think like them and are not, giving them a load of crap, and so they can get away from their family. I mean, we all know Christmas is a difficult time for families already. So if you throw veganism in there, then maybe, see, it makes the social side of it even more difficult. So I try to give them a space where they can go, right, I'm just off into a bedroom for a bit, bugger you.
Good idea. That was a great idea.
Mm.
I mean, do you have any friends that aren't vegan?
That are vegan?
That aren't?
Well, I've got acquaintances more than anything. I don't make friends, actually.
No.
And some of it is on purpose. This is weird, really. Because I played football for years and years and years, kind of Sunday league, but mainly kind of five-a-side. And I was playing 3 games a week when I was in Wales. And still here until about 3 years ago, I was playing football. And it was great, really, because it was a great advert, funny enough, for veganism. Because I used to have a friend, Andrew, and he said, I sometimes a dinner party, and they start taking the mick out of vegetarians or vegans. And I go, wait a minute, I play football with a vegan. He's twice my age and twice as quick as me. So it's almost like a bit of an advert, But I forgot what we were talking about there. Lost the track.
Oh, you said that you haven't got any vegan friends. Any friends?
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
you don't make friends.
Yeah,
That
so
was it.
some I didn't get to know the people I play football with very closely, because I almost thought, if I get to know them, I'm not probably going to like them. So I didn't go to the pub with them. I didn't go to the Christmas thing with them and all that. And we
When you say you're not going to like them because of
what they do and what they say,
yeah, being non-vegan.
It's hard to be in a non-vegan space.
Yeah. This is what I was leading to.
Yeah.
It's only just in the last year you've actually gone vegan, isn't it? Before then you were vegetarian for about a year, weren't you? But before then you were a meat
bad
eater.
man, you.
He was a
Came
meat
good in
eater.
the end.
And so it I used to prepare meat. I didn't like doing it, and the more we went on, the more I used to say to you, it's getting near the time where you're going to have to do it because I can't bear touching the meat. And but now, because we don't have meat in the house, I mean, one of my cats, he bought back a sausage. They must have nicked it off somebody's barbecue. This was going back last year. And, I nearly threw up. It made me feel really sick. But going out with other non-vegans and watching them eat and watching them saying, yeah, like you say, the animal cruelty, it's really bad. Yeah. But I like this steak. And you think, I don't know how I can do this anymore. I really don't. So...
Yeah,
I don't like going out with non-vegans.
No,
now.
I get you, and I suppose in some senses that's a difficulty for a campaigner then, because you are self-isolating, and I must admit I probably do that. And in fact, that's one thing that Leonard talks about. He said, well, if you're going to make veganism so difficult that you can't take social engagements with people, because it's too awkward. He sees that as a real difficulty for veganism, because you're almost like putting yourself in the kind of I'm not the same as you bracket, and nobody likes that.
No.
And we know from school that it's only the slight difference that makes all the difference. You could be too big, you could be too, you could be too fat, you could be too thin. You could be too small. You can wear specs, So we are very good at discriminating against others with small differences. There's no wonder that we discriminate against those who've got a different colour skin and stuff, or or of a different sexual orientation. It's easy then if we can, if we can discriminate. I mean, like one of the first things that happened when I was back in Yorkshire, I went to my first Leeds game, and I got beaten up by some rugby fans of all things.
All right.
And I was thinking, why would somebody? I was only young. Why would somebody beat up a kid for having the wrong football scarf on? And even now, I tune into some of these football forum type things, and there's certain groups that they absolutely hate and all this, and I'm thinking, I don't get it, it's just another football team.
As I said, hate's a strong word as well, isn't it?
I mean, the Leeds fans call Man United fans scum, right? They call Man U scum. And I'm just thinking, why?
Like you say, it's football.
Yeah, I mean, it seems they're so tribalistic, and they kind of celebrate that and say that's what it's all about. I don't get that either. I mean, if you want a tribe, make it Homo sapiens. If you've got to have one,
Yeah, because I often say it's nice, like if ever we've been out somewhere with a bunch of vegans, like we went out a few weeks ago for a meal with the in our area, the local vegans, and it was nice to be with my tribe.
Yeah.
You do. I suppose naturally
Yeah, well,
people want to be in tribes.
yeah,
don't
well,
they?
you can relax because you're around people, so you can understand it from both sides. But if your tribe is violent towards another tribe because of something simple like the colour of their shirt, that's when you've got to start questioning it. But I mean, I get the social side of it. That's kind of
Am
obvious.
I using that phrase, my tribe? Am I ousting non-vegans, the potential of non-vegans coming in and being vegan?
Don't know. There was well, it's still going, a website called Tribe of Heart.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, that's
Tribe of
worth
Heart?
looking up. Tribe of Heart, because they're also part of the humane myth, and so they've got this famous essay called "The Invasion of the Movement Snatchers," and so it was an abolitionist group, kind of seeing what's going on with the movement, but their tribe was a kind of tribe of heart, a moral tribe, I suppose. So you can see the point. It's a question of where you go with it. That's the thing. I mean, I don't have a problem with that label. As you can see from the interview, I've got problems with all kinds of labels, but I'm okay with that one. It's what you did. It's what you would do with it, I suppose.
Yeah. I know there was one question you wanted to ask, wasn't there?
What was I?
Oh,
Can't remember now.
yeah, there was. Let me get it up.
Another question.
No. Do you know how many vegans there are in Ireland?
No,
No.
but nobody knows how many vegans there are anywhere.
I was going to say, people take a guess,
Have
don't
you seen it
they?
grow though, recently?
That
over
was
the
going to
years?
be my next question.
I've tend to say to that question, because journalists like to ask that question, is people are now vegan curious, and we did notice that on when we were doing the Temple Bar stuff, and that we had a solid 10 years of the VIP, doing lots of hours every week for 10 years. We only missed a few weeks, and that was when we were doing veg fests and stuff like that. And so it was a solid street thing. And people kind of possibly went from not having a clue to being vegan curious, right? And then they would often come up, and then it's a question of finding out whether they really know what veganism is. So that was an issue. But there was one of these kind of reducitarian influencers on TikTok the other day saying the public are scared of us vegans. They're not scared of vegans.
No.
I mean, I don't know where that comes from. But then again,
Why would they be scared?
well, there is in that community a stereotype which was deliberately created, and it was called, ableist language, the crazy vegan stereotype. And and this is it, right? That you've got people on the street screaming at people and waving their arms about, literally doing this. This is how the person illustrated what a crazy vegan was. And they were giving a workshop to new impressionable vegans, right? This was all part of this move that there is in this movement, been going on for close to 20 years. The best thing you can do for veganism is not be vegan.
The best thing you can do for veganism is not be vegan.
Yeah, because it's better to get a lot of people reducing than a few people being vegan. Right? Now, say that's true, it still doesn't rule out that some people have got to advocate for veganism, because veganism is a philosophy.
Yeah.
We've got a philosophy that we want people to hear about, and it's a little bit like Donald Watson said in 1944 that we have to ripen people up. I've always remembered this phrase. People need to be ripened up to a new idea. The newfangled idea of veganism, they'd only just invented the name, right? People need to be ripened up. And it's just saying the obvious. People can't think about veganism if they've never heard of it. So there's got to be somebody talking to them about veganism and real veganism, not reducing it to eating our fellow animals now and again and that kind of stuff, not reducing it to a diet. There's got to be some people in the world telling people what veganism is and going, isn't it a great idea? And they're going, yeah, hopefully. And then it grows, right? Now, I prefer for those people who are not really vegan is not stop calling themselves vegan. In the same way, this is a mirror image. I've always said to people who don't agree with the philosophy of animal rights, please don't call yourself an animal rights person then. But they will. So you've got now non-animal rights people call themselves animal rights, and you've got non-vegans call themselves vegan. How confusing is that?
Oh, yeah.
You know, whether it's.
This is what I was saying to you, that like I kind of feel it's all lost its meaning, hasn't it?
Yeah, but
or it could do.
Isn't it the same with, say, socialism? I mean, haven't you got a load of people in the Labour Party who, and they don't know what being in the Labour Party means nowadays? Isn't it just the same? You know, I mean, like some people say we're in a post-truth society now, where you know, people believe the Earth is flat and you know all these conspiracy theories and all the rest of it, and nobody kind of trusts anything, and it's all fake news. If you don't like something, that's going to be a new challenge for the movement. AI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Massive one. Yeah. People are just going to come up and go, "That's AI." You know, you can't convince.
I thought that actually.
Yeah.
That I'm surprised that nobody has said that, because sometimes when we do outreach,
you see it in the comments all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, on social media. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Oh, that's just AI. You've created that. You know, that's not really what it is. I mean, they've always had a couple of ways of dismissing it. They used to say, "How old is that footage?" And they would also say, "Where was that taken?" Thinking, oh, it's some disgusting foreign place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas now they've just got this catch-all. And said, that's AI. It's not even real. You know. I mean, people used to accuse groups of going in and beating up and killing our fellow animals in the farms in order to film it, dressed up as farmers and stuff. Now, now you could do that with AI, right?
Do you think I always ask this question, do you think we'll see a vegan world?
Yes, for the reasons I've said. And even if I'm wrong, or even if we won't, in other words, I say I could be wrong, so I'm going to stick to that. You know? I mean, it's kind of what I want. It's what I think would be the best thing for everyone on the planet. And, you know, I agree with the founders. It's worth fighting for. And so there's no point in stopping fighting. It's a bit too late for me now to stop. You know, So
Yeah, because people will often say to me, "Oh, we'll never see a vegan world. I don't know, whether it's worth it, worth fighting." But the thing is, you can't win the lottery unless you buy a ticket, can you?
well, yeah,
So you've got to try.
yeah, it's a pretty good response. The ticket one, yeah.
You have got to try. Because if you don't try, there's no chance.
And going back to Donald Watson, if you haven't got somebody waving the vegan flag, how is anybody going to go, oh, that's a good idea, I'll join you?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's almost like, in a weird way, the vegan movement almost needs to get smaller before it can get bigger again. And it needs to get everybody on the same page. Leslie Cross said this very early on, probably about 1949, 51. He said, we can't just have everybody saying, well, as far as I'm concerned, veganism is. Right. But that's exactly what happens now. You'll see that on social media all the time. Veganism to me is, as far as I understand, I mean, we all should know what veganism is, But there are vested interests in reducing the meaning of veganism. And that's within the movement. Now, that's a real shame. But again, is it any different from what happened with the Labour Party or any other political party, or is that what goes on with? There's all kinds of trouble going on in the feminist movement because everything's changing, right? I think they're up to like the fourth wave of feminism now. I used to teach second wave feminism, which came in 1969. So the first was the suffragists. Then you got the radical feminists, Marxist feminists, black feminists. That was called the second wave. Then the third wave was when you start to get weird stuff from the second wave perspective, like sex work is empowering, right? And so so you get feminists in favour of sex work and that kind of stuff, and in favour of pornography and that kind of thing, which the second wave were always completely opposed to that and just saw it as being a bulwark of patriarchy. So everything's changing in that sense, I suppose. So it might not be happening only to us, but that's not much of a help. It's happening to us.
I think you're right.
We certainly need to have a consensus about what veganism is.
Yeah.
And the Vegan Society are not helping at all in this. Right? It's almost as though, some people are saying, I guess we all need to join the Vegan Society, do it through EGMs, AGMs, redefine it and say, look, we want to go back to the 1951 definition. Right? And that would work, although my caveat for that is that the 1951 definition is actually talking about the focus of veganism, right? There's a scope of veganism which is not captured by that one sentence, which is why I always say, if you're going to use Leslie Cross, please read all of Leslie Cross. He's got 6 or 7 essays. He was a professional journalist. He didn't write in sound bites. So extracting a single sentence is really unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair to the guy.
Yeah.
But it's also unfair to the cause. Right? So now you've got the animals only vegans, the ones who are saying it's not really a social justice movement, it's about the animals and only and all this kind of stuff. The truth is the pioneers of our movement didn't believe that. They saw it as part of the moral evolution of humanity. And they said those words. This is about the moral evolution of humanity. We're going to save humans by saving non-humans. That was their position. So it was more in line with David Nybert and entanglements, that these issues are all connected. Any discrimination anywhere is a threat everywhere.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, and so, and again, when I came to the movement, everybody kind of agreed with that. We all had the C&D badges. We all, everybody had, by and large, similar ideas left-leaning kind of egalitarian, socialist, green, all these kind of ideas. I mean, that was central to our movement then.
Do you think it's because it's too easy to do these things like on the internet now that people are joining these things? And they're doing it from the luxury of their laptops or desktops and phones.
I thought you said desktop then.
No,
I thought
desk.
I know,
Desk.
yeah. I thought that's a great phrase. I've got to use that.
Desktops.
Laptops and desktops.
Desktops. You can call it what you like. But yeah.
Is it too, well, it's
So
easy.
they're not getting the proper
is-
meaning of these
Yeah,
things.
well, it's easy for them to join and then be misled.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
They're not feeling it, are they? They're not feeling it, not in their heart.
No.
It's easy to.
I got a very controversial example of this, is that when all the trans issues arose a couple of years ago, I was told off for asking questions, and because it's traumatizing for a trans person to have to answer the same question over and over. And I was thinking, blimey, that's exactly what vegans do all the time. But what I was told was, do your own research. Go online and find out for yourself and don't bother me. Now, I would never do that from a vegan point of view.
No.
Reason for that is that they're going to end up in the lap of the Melanie Joy cartel
Yeah.
and be told
You
that
go down the
veganism
road.
is a diet.
Yeah. Go down the wrong rabbit hole. Sorry to coin that phrase. But
Yeah, that's right. But, because we're dealing with a lot of money, though, and a lot of influence, the Melanie Joy people, pro-veg, all the different groups that they've got, all the money that they've got, they're actually funding conferences. I mean, like, at the moment, it happened in Kent last year, I think it was. At the moment, pro-veg are funding conferences. There was a vegan conference in the University of Kent. They funded it, which made it that Leonard had the keynote speech, and he used that keynote speech to tell people not to be vegan, right? At a vegan conference.
Madness.
But then again, most of his talks are at the International Animal Rights Conference in Luxembourg. Well, it's, I mean, like, why they get a platform, and I really think that the reason that they don't call themselves vegetarians, actually, is because there are no vegetarian organised conferences.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it coincided when Melanie Joy's book came out, 2010. Why we eat and all that, and all that. And of course, in that book, and I know it, page 131, she says it's possible to procure eggs and dairy without violence. Now that's not a vegan thing to say.
No, it isn't.
No. And she also called vegans pure vegetarians in the book. If you look in the index of the book, it's over there, you'll see, you look at the index, no mention of veganism, and several for vegetarians. So carnism is a vegetarian thing, but they had to veganize it because at the time I was doing vegetarian conferences, and then Veg Fests came up, and apart from the kind of confused about the name, they were vegan conferences, right? So the vegetarian ones died out, right? So they don't have a circuit of vegetarian organized conferences in order to present their essentially vegetarian position. So they have to veganize it and pretend that this is veganism. And rather than them accepting what veganism is, they're going, bugger that, I'm going to redefine veganism to vegetarianism or pescatarianism. That is their thing. That's what they've been about for years. I'm in favour of a few exceptions. If you mean veganism to mean abstaining from products derived from our fellow animals all the time and every day, that's too much. They've been trying to wear it down for at least 15, 16 years. Been relentless. And then this vegetarian guy calls himself a vegan strategist. Right?
It's quite insulting, really, isn't it?
It's bloody cheeky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it quite insulting to vegans.
Yeah.
To us vegans that work really hard at
I've
it.
always called him the vegetarian tactician. So the vegan strategist. You know, he doesn't qualify for that name. That name is misleading, right? And it's had its effect because now you're seeing his views, their views, the cartel's views, all over TikTok and Instagram now. As I said, vegan until 6. Or, if you can be vegan except for cheese, be vegan except for cheese. Which doesn't actually make sense. Veganism is a philosophy,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
What they mean is, if you can be plant-based except for cheese, that's what they mean. And that, again, goes back to the fact that although some people think that division is divisive, it's actually very useful. Because if you're calling yourself plant-based, you're not calling yourself vegan. In the same way as the plant-based doctors decided not to call themselves vegan doctors. Right? They call themselves plant-based doctors. That works for me.
Yeah, because we get that at the outreach, don't we? If you turn around and say to people, I've got, would you like to try some free vegan food samples? No, you're fine. But if you say plant-based, they'll come over.
I think that might be another issue that we've kind of, I wrote recently, we might have dropped the ball on this one. Maybe we shouldn't have ever called food vegan. We should have called it vegan friendly. Veganism is a philosophy. I mean, food can't be vegan. It can be, but it can be vegan friendly. Right? I mean, same way. I mean, some people say. Again, this is a bit more controversial. Some people say that we're born vegan. Well, how are we born with a developed philosophy in our mind? So we're born plant-based. They mean, my dog is vegan. Really? The dog understands vegan philosophy? Now, some people actually say yes to that question, but as far as we know, dogs don't understand the philosophy of veganism.
No.
But they can be plant-based. Right. And so, again, by just being a bit more careful about how we put it over and what we say, about our language, one of the most crucial things about being in a social movement, we can do ourselves a massive favour because we're not confusing ourselves then. By being more careful with our language,
Do you think if we were more careful with our language, because I know some people see it as a cult, don't they? Veganism as a cult. I've been called that, go back to your cult.
That is a really challenging question, actually. Or as Reagan would say, that's a difficult question. Because if you notice my language, I've said things like products derived from our fellow animals, this kind of stuff. Now the point is that can be seen as cult-like. If you've got a lot of people speaking in a language which seems alien, which is why a lot of vegans will use words like meat uncritically, whereas Niebuhr would put it in inverted commas. I've been doing that. Meat, right? Meat is like an industry term, right? It's the flesh of someone else. That's what meat is, right? But there is a thing, where I've seen vegans talking about livestock, industry term, pork, beef, all of these totally uncritically, right? Now, if you're going to use those words, you should at least have a caveat and say, I'm using these words, even though they're industry terms, and this kind of stuff, to get my point over or something. But again, it's something to think about. Joan Denea put a book out called Animal Equality, Language and Liberation. She had a thesaurus at the back. This was 2001. I reviewed it for a little grassroots mag called Arc News at the time, run by a friend who's since died. And I said this will never catch on because she rewrote the language to make it so don't say meat, say flesh. My favourite was she wanted to call aquariums aqua prisons.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that's great.
Yeah.
But it'll never catch on. Because I don't think vegans, again, if they're worried about sticking out like a sore thumb, they're obviously not going to adopt this weird language, are they? So I said during the interview, this is great, but it'll never catch on in the movement. You know.
Mind you, I'm thinking about that meat flesh thing. That, yeah. The language of that makes sense. You know, say if you were to cut into my leg now, you wouldn't be cutting into a piece of meat, would you? You'd be cutting into my flesh.
Yes.
But if you were to do it to an animal...
Yeah. That's right. And that's why, I mean, with these, this is a David Nyberg edited book. I've got a chapter in that. I was really proud, actually. He said that my chapter is the last one of the 2 volumes because it's so good. And I thought he'd slung it in at the end because it was so bad. And but he gave us all these guidelines about what to put in inverted commas and stuff. And so, but it's very jarring at first. If you see all that and you've got all the, you know, a page and it's got lots of words in italics or in inverted commas, so you have to get used to it a little bit, you know. And then, for example, he's got a concept called domestication.
Oh, I heard this bit last night. Now, explain what domestication is.
Well, he's saying this as a critique of domestication, because he's saying actually by the changes that they have to undergo to become domesticated, we're actually desecrating them. So domestication.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in. It's probably up there. I got 2. Because I was telling him, because he sent me this book, which is 13 years ago now. This one here, you see the crinkles on that?
Yeah.
It arrived and it was wet through. I think the postie must have dropped it in a puddle. So, and it's got a dedication from the author. So I thought,
Oh, lovely.
yeah. So this is good. And so I had to get a hairdryer, and I had to dry each page. It took more than 2 hours to do, but you can still see.
Yeah.
It's all crinkly and everything, and it even sounds weird. And it's a bit kind of
crispy, isn't it?
yeah, crispy. Yeah, that's right. So this one is just a boring old one. No. So this one must be a collector's item.
I was
now.
going to say, yeah.
But in that he uses all that language, and when I did the thing, he actually gave all the authors a kind of thing to abide by.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, please use this format kind of thing. Yeah, but see, the point is, in the uncritical vegan movement, that might mean that his books are not going to be read that much because people go, what the hell is this? You know, it might be kind of, you know, why have they put the word meat and beef in inverted commas? You know? Or livestock, you know. And I used to work with a professor of criminology, Piers Byrne, and one of my first published works was we were 3 authors, my PhD supervisor Chris Powell, myself, and Professor Piers Byrne, and he was big on language, and but he used to get around it by saying like our fellow animals, and then he put in bracket hitherto or henceforth animals. So then he would go back to normal language, but he would have flagged up the problem of it, you know, which I suppose is a solution to it, so long as people see that bit at the beginning. Otherwise, if they open it in the middle, they're just going to see normal language, right? And so, but he said things like instead of things like a racehorse, he would say a horse made to race.
Yeah.
Because it's like giving them a job. If they're a racehorse, giving them a job. In the same way as in the 80s, people stopped saying pets and started saying companion animals. But companion animals also gives them a job. They're your companion.
Yeah.
Right? And so then people switched it to animal companion to take it away from being a job. Okay, so the linguistic evolution, pets to companion animal to animal companion. Which, again, evolution of language.
Yes, amazing. I'd never thought about it before till I spoke to you. I really hadn't.
Well, I'm a very unique person.
Well, we've discovered that, I think.
Or a complete pain in the arse if you judge it by social media.
No. It's been so interesting to talk to you. Really has. Really, really has.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
I just visited you walking back to your car and saying, what the fuck was all that about?
No, not at all. I think you've probably learned a few things this afternoon. Yeah. I know you were a little bit worried that it perhaps wouldn't fit in. But
I do have to say, I do owe a lot to the people I work with on the Animal Rights Show, Wendy and Nella, and Jeremy Hess, who is not doing that now. He's running a micro sanctuary, but he was really strong on language, you know, and I think he was the one who kind of resurrected this thing about saying our fellow animals. Although the pioneers in this 50s, they talked about our fellow creatures, you know. So their language was better than ours way back then. They didn't use cruelty that much. They talked, their favourite word was exploitation. Right?
yeah, I remember it being. I mean, I wasn't even vegetarian then, but back in the 80s, like it was animal exploitation, like you
and
say.
animal rights. Yeah, rats.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have banners and badges. Rats have rights, stuff like this. You never see those kind of things anymore. You know, so.
So I suppose the language has changed to try and dampen it all down a bit, I suppose. But it's dampened the message.
I think again it's part of this kind of bit of a conspiracy to do it. For example, if you take the weaker version of the definition, the now official version, it says exploitation of and cruelty to, right? And this was with Jeremy, quite funny. We were looking at the Vegan Society definition. Didn't mention philosophy and everything. What it was their definition page had a kind of like almost like a subtitle, which was like a summary of, for some reason, a summary of the definition, and you had to scroll down to see the one that everybody knows now. And I said to Jeremy, because he was talking about it, I said, that's not the definition. He said, yeah, look, it's on the... I said, well, scroll down. He goes, I've never done that. I've never scrolled down on the internet page to see the actual definition, right? So a lot of people now, it says veganism is a philosophy and lifestyle. So a lot of people miss out the word philosophy on purpose. And then a lot of people miss out the word exploitation, or they reverse it, which is very common. And so it says cruelty to and exploitation of, right? Whereas the official definition says, so exploitation is the lead word, even in the weak definition. But that's still too strong for some people, so they reverse it or take that word out, right? So they don't want philosophy, they take that word out, and they don't want exploitation, and then it ends up being veganism is a lifestyle opposed to cruelty to animals. RSPCA language, again, you know. But some people deliberately do that. And so again, is that because they're making it easy for themselves? It's easy to sell, or it's not so hard to stand by? And you're not going to get as challenged as much if you do that, because everybody's against cruelty, you know. So there is utility. I mean, I'm not disputing this at all. There is utility in vegans using RSPCA language. It's just that it's a hell of a confusing thing to do.
Yeah.
But there is utility to it. You know, you can see the sense of it. But we ought to be a bit more. No, we're not going to do that. You know, kind of plant your flag. You know, kind of you'd be stronger than that. You know.
Yeah, because otherwise it's confusing the message altogether, isn't it?
Weakening it. Yeah. Again, it's like have mercy. We don't want to say have mercy.
No, not at all.
Oh.
No.
You know, I remember doing, when I was on the press office, I was up in Newcastle doing a press thing. It's a weird thing. The show was split into two things. One was animal rights, and the next one was about the Moors murderers, believe it or not. And we had a sociologist here who'd written about the murderers, and then we had the wife of one of the victims here next to me. These both next to me. And so the second half started, and it was about that. And these two ended up screaming at each other. Their faces were here in front of me, going this way, and I was like this. It was really weird. Laurie Taylor was the sociologist. He used to have a brilliant radio show called Thinking Aloud, and aloud was spelt as in permitted.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant idea. Yeah, but in that, I remember saying, some farmer was saying something, and I said, "Wait a minute, where are you getting the right to do that? Tell me where you've got the right to do that." Because the answer, we know, it's might makes right. It's kind of, I've got the right to do that because I can. Yes. Which every rapist says. You know, that's not a right.
No.
I mean, that is just using power relations. That's what that is.
Power, like you say.
It's about power, and you say, okay, where did it come from? And most people, if you challenge them with that question, they'll say, might is right. In other words, I'm able to, so I do. Right. And if you put it into any human context, it becomes grotesque. You know, a lot of things are like that. If you put what we do to our fellow animals in a human context, it becomes totally grotesque, like artificial insemination and those kind of things. Yeah. And of course, slaughterhouses. But then again, I've had loads of farmers coming up to the stall. They either won't or they can't describe what happens in the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, you said this last week. They don't know what happens.
No. But why should they? It's not knowledge that is any use to them, is it?
I suppose.
Close the door on that, don't they?
Which is why when we had the foot and mouth thing, which was news for weeks and weeks in Britain, we had farmers crying because the government vets had arrived and started killing their animals, and they don't normally see that bit, so they were crying. And of course, a cynical person would go, yeah, that's because they're losing money, which could be the thing as well. It's just that it was a shock to them. Howell Brown, who was a beef farmer and then became a vegan activist, he said that he knew loads of farmers who would, when it was the day when the truck came to take them off, they would get into the little buggy thing, Land Rover or something, and go to the far corner of their farm. Oh, I've got a bit of fencing to do. So they don't see them.
Don't see what's going on.
They don't see them taken up. And even if they drive them to the slaughterhouse, they just unload them, off they go.
Yeah, because we see
they don't follow them through. Okay, talk me through it. They go out of your van and they go into the leerage. Then what? They don't know. They don't know. And it's kind of like this thing about it's a powerful thing to not know things. And there's certain things that we deliberately don't know, and we deliberately push the knowledge of something away.
Choose not to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could even, I said this in my PhD, if you think about just the simple act of a vegan giving someone else a leaflet, right? Now, the interesting question is, why the hell would they take that from you? Because at the very least, they're going to go, this is going to be something I don't want to know. This is going to cause me psychic pain. This is going to upset me. Why would I take your goddamn leaflet? I mean, it's a legitimate question. Why should they take a leaflet, especially if it's got graphic content? And you go, I don't want to know, right? I'd rather not know, thanks.
Well, you say to most people who are non-vegan, shall I show you the film Dominion?
Yeah.
And then they say no,
they don't want to
see it.
But then why should they? I mean, this is the critical question that we can ask ourselves. Why the hell should they put themselves in the way of material which they already know in advance is going to upset them? You know?
But I suppose you could argue that if they're paying for that to happen by eating the flesh, then surely they should be shown.
That is a response to their position, but their position makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to know. I mean, going back to John and Mel and the 80s is all based on vivisection. I think John might have said this. Vivisection looks like torture, much more than farming does, right? Or say what goes on with our fellow animals in a circus. Vivisection actually physically looks like torture, right? You know, heads cut open and you know, restraining devices and all those psychological tests. Separating children from their mothers, although it goes on in dairy, of course. You know, but the amount of ignorance that people have is quite a lot, and they like it. You know, I think I was saying at the end of the show after we shut down. You know, there's a lot of people, and I learnt this from outreach, vegan outreach. There's a lot of people who will deny that they're animals. They will deny that they're apes. I'm not an ape. And they will deny that they're mammals, or they don't know what being a mammal means. So if you say to a woman, well, for you to lactate, what needs to happen? They'll say, I need to be pregnant, right? And you're a mammal, just like a mother cow. They never make that connection. You can almost see them go, really? Well, what? I'm a mammal and so is the cow? We're the same? See, we do everything we can to separate ourselves from our fellow animals, to make ourselves different and above and not the same and special. And, it's just an insult to say that we're the same as that. We're not, We go to extraordinary lengths to make those distinctions. Just an animal. I mean, we do to our fellow animals what the Nazis did to Jews. Make every difference that they could make in order to exploit them. And we do that in warfare all the time. You dehumanize your enemy, and you depersonalize your enemy, make him a mass. Well,
it weakens it, doesn't it?
But it weakens what you're doing. And then you can throw in another few things like, when they designed the concentration camps, the doctors didn't actually ever see anybody go to the gas chambers, because they just went down a particular, this way to the hospital, you go that way. They go around the back, and they don't, half an hour later they might see some, but they never see it. Back to the farmers, don't see the slaughterhouse. It's the same. I mean, so it's amazing, but you can understand why they wouldn't want to.
Yeah. Now,
we on the other side say, well, hang on, you're involved with that, you're paying for that, you should, just out of decency, at least know what you're doing, right?
I suppose there'd be less farmers if they saw it, would there? Would there be?
Well, it's an interesting one. You might get a lot more of them transitioning, because you see, we always say, everybody's against cruelty, but so are the farmers. Now, I think some vegan activists will go, oh yeah, I've seen too much footage for you to get away with that one, mate, kind of thing. Kicking them and prodding them and, hitting them and all the rest of it. But they'll still, those individuals who do all that will still say that they're opposed to animal cruelty. It's almost, like it's almost like we can live by stereotypes, whether they're real or not. I remember a time in Dublin, it's really funny. I mean, I've always been a bit overweight, right from being a kid. My entire family, except for my father, was overweight. And there's Declan there from the sanctuary, big strapping guy, much bigger than me, you know, kind of a brown skin because he's out all day, you know.
Yeah.
And this guy comes up to us. There's me stood there, and there's Declan stood there. He goes, "Look at you vegans, you're skinny and pasty and all this kind of stuff." And we're going, "What, us?" But it's almost like the reality doesn't matter. They've got the comfort of their stereotype in their head, which makes all vegans, you know, they're almost like on their deathbed, and they're all pasty, and they're all, you know, thin as a rake. And there's two vegans in front of us, in front of them, and they still say it. Even if their eyes say, no, they're not, you know. A French guy came up once, and he said, "Yo, you know, you can't be vegan for more than 7 years." And I mean, this was a while ago, and I was saying, well, I've been vegan for more than 40 years. Declan over there has been vegan for about whatever it was then. And he goes, "Well, in that case, you must be cheating then."
Right.
He wouldn't.
Why? What was his philosophy behind 7 years?
Well, it's just that he wanted to have a number. I mean, a lot of people say 10 years. There was a kind of quite about 4 or 5 years ago on the internet. There's this big scare going around, and that's right. There was a thing called vegan deterioration. A lot of people will remember that, vegan deterioration, and it had these pictures of a person who, when they went vegan, and then 4 years, 5 years, 6 years later, it's almost like you've got skull and crossbones or something, you know. And you know, I don't know whether they use filters or what, but they had all this thing, and they had loads and loads of pictures of healthy looking people who, after a time of being plant-based, were looking sickly and everything. You know. So where they got all that from, but I do remember that. And it was a scare. It was something that we had to argue against, and it was called vegan deterioration.
Right.
That's what the website was called. Yeah. And I don't know if it's still going.
I've never heard of it. No. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Well, somebody can say in the comments if it's still going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I've been vegan nearly 7 years, so maybe I need to give up.
Oh yeah, you're about to cop out, I'm afraid. Yeah, you're still all right for a bit.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah. And I've been dead a long time ago, so.
Yeah.
Saying that, I did lose a lot of weight when I became vegan, but I look at it as animal fat gone from me. That's all the rubbish gone.
Yeah, well, it never. I mean, I'd like to have lost some weight, but I mean, I don't know how much genetics play in this. But as I said, most of my family have been overweight. In fact, my mum used to call me the slim one of the family, which was ridiculous, you know. But
As I say, you're not exactly big now, though, are you?
I'm big enough. I've got a belly, you know. I've got a couple of man boobs.
You're all right. You're fine. Yeah. But that's the thing.
Well, I wouldn't want to stand up and jiggle, put it that way.
I think vegans do come in. I know, like where we do the outreach, they all come in different shapes and sizes, don't they?
Yeah.
Different ages.
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
So.
And there was some people who were very, very skinny, but they used to have podcasts and say, "But I've always been like this." I mean, even Earthling Ed said that. I think he said that because he said, this is so weird. I mean, you know what Earthling Ed looks like. He was in the class, and he was asked by the teacher, "How would you describe a vegetarian?" He said, "Oh, really thin and I mean, he was describing himself, and he wasn't a vegetarian. You know, we've got these stereotypes in our mind. They're incredibly powerful, just like the socialization processes. You know, this is why I think that in our movement, if we had more sociology and less psychology, it would be really much better. First of all, it's not all just about blaming individuals. It's not letting them off the hook either.
No.
But if somebody is in a structure, like we're all born as cultural speciesists, well, some people, they can't shake that. You know, just because you did, you know, I've had vegans say, well, I was able to do it. That doesn't mean anything to somebody else. You know, because we are different.
As I say, we're all different.
Yeah, that's right, you know. Well, I was able to do the gym. Well, I wasn't able to do the gym. You know, I mean, like, you know, there are different things, you know, that people couldn't do. I could never, actually, you know, in outreach terms, I could never do a pub collection.
No?
I used to feel terrible doing that. Yeah, you're shaking a tin in front of somebody. I really hated doing that. Yeah. I don't know why, because you used to go in and you'd ask the you know, the landlord or whatever, can we do a quick collection? And they go, yeah, it's for animal welfare. You'd say that, and then you start shaking this thing, and they, you know, and you could see people, you know, getting their change out and everything, but they didn't want to. And I used to really hate it. It was very difficult for me to do. I walked out once on it and walked back home and got caught up by the rest of the group on their way back, because I just couldn't cope with it. But again, other people, dead easy. So we're different, like you say. Yeah.
It's no different, really, than me wanting to do a bungee jump and you not. Or you wanting to do one and me not.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Yeah, all those kind of things. People being frightened of flying. I've not flown very much in my life at all. I don't think I flew at all until I was in my 40s.
Well, I didn't fly till I was 36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done a long haul flight.
No.
And most of the flights that I've taken are to go to Veg Fest in Glasgow, and I went to a conference in Cardiff. So it's just, you know, I mean, the Cardiff one is great. You get up and then you start going down, you know. And so I've never done that, but I used to like the experience. And I'd seen in the movies that scene, you know, where people are flying above the clouds and it's like a carpet of fluffy clouds below you. And I loved that when I saw that in real life. And to make it better is one time the plane tipped. So then you could see different things. And there was a bank of clouds ahead of us. And there was a big circle of cloud with a hole in it, and we flew through that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, it was. Yeah. So I imagine that I was going to say driver, the pilot must have done that on purpose. Rather than going through a bank of clouds, he went through the hole.
Yeah, quite magical, really.
Yeah, it was. And that was my first flight, I think. And I was thinking, this is and another thing that really freaked me a little bit is that you got little kids running up and down the aisle as though they were on a bus. I was thinking, we're in a tin can flying at, you know, and all that. I mean, look down there, you know. It's like that the Bob Newhart thing, kind of, you know, look at that, people are like ants. They are ants, we haven't taken off yet, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow. So I was always really fascinated, because I would always want the window seat. You know, I didn't want any drinks, I didn't want anything, I just wanted to look out. And I particularly like to see wind farms.
Yeah.
Really weird, like little matchstick things going around. Yeah, I used to love that.
I'm a bit like you, actually. I used to, when I first went up, I was like, wow, look at the clouds here. Yeah, I was quite in awe.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid I have the window seat now. I've never flown. I've only ever flown to Ireland and back.
Yeah.
So I've never been anywhere.
Yeah, I've never, because I was quite surprised when I got to Ireland, because people used to go to New York shopping at Christmas and stuff like that, and they would use like the plane like a bus, and they were just dead used to it, and it was weird to me, a bit alien to me. And then I don't fly now for environmental reasons, you know, but you know, some people say, well, just being vegan kind of offsets. You can allow yourself a couple of flights, but I still don't.
No.
So people have stopped inviting me to conferences and stuff because I won't fly. I think the last conference I did was in London, so I got the ferry and the coach. I think it was 12 hours.
Yeah, it's a long journey.
Yeah, and then 12 hours back. So really regretted that when you think it would be about 80 minutes, you know, flight. You know. So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. I hope I haven't bored you to death?
Not at all. Not at all. It's been so interesting and having a different take on things. And
Yes.
I've learnt so much.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for the show. You know, it's well, you call it a show, but it's good for for podcasting.
Right, so what did you think of that interview?
I really liked it. I think he had so much to say. It's hard to sort of wrap it all up, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
it's so much you could, almost talk about it for hours, couldn't you, really? Because it's really opened my mind about everything.
yeah. I mean, I came away, it was an education talking to him, and I wanted to learn more. So I've been, any books he's mentioned, I've been trying to order.
And it's definitely made me think differently.
Yeah, about the language. Definitely about the language.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think you could safely say he is for animal rights, not welfare,
Yeah.
which I think is he mentions during the interview, doesn't he, about that if you campaign for rights and against animal exploitation, there's a chance you'll get welfare. So you don't need to campaign
'cause
for welfare.
There's always
really.
that compromise that they always
Yeah.
sort of meet in the middle.
Yeah. So, it's very interesting. What I thought is going to be interesting. We're going to Vegan Camp Out.
Yeah.
Tobias Lennart, who he mentions from the what's her name, Melanie Joy Cartel. The Reducitarians.
Yeah.
He's going to be there. I wouldn't go near him. No. Reducitarian's not for me. You either are or you aren't. You're not a true vegan if you're reducing.
No, definitely. I mean, it's in some ways it's a start. Is it better than? But
Well, I suppose if you're doing it with a view to going vegan altogether, you're easing
going-
yourself in.
yeah, because I suppose a reducitarian, you could argue, is you're just thinking about diet rather than the philosophy, like you say, of veganism and what it stands for.
Well, there you go. That's just it, you see. If you're not careful, it can be reduced to a diet rather than a philosophy. There is so much more to veganism, isn't there?
Yeah, because it's quite interesting what Roger had to say about people very often miss out the definition of the exploitation, of the animals. People very often miss that out and sort of create this idea of veganism around diet to draw people in.
Well, it's funny you should say that because we did Bath on Viva. I'd say pretty much, I'd say I would be confident in saying that every conversation was about diet.
I suppose, you can't beat around the bush, in a way that, it is a big part to a lot of people's lives is
you've got to
you
eat.
have to change,
Yeah,
isn't it? They'll have to change, but it's everything else, isn't it? The reasons why you're doing it,
Yeah. Because why did you do it? You did it for the animals.
I
Straight
did.
away. And you went cold turkey. Oh, pardon the phrase. But you did though, didn't you?
Yeah,
You just stopped altogether. I think you watched Clarkson's Farm, which is
and
it's hardly Dominion. But saying that, I've never watched Clarkson's Farm,
but it just unlocked something in me, and I just thought, I just can't do it anymore. And it's just almost as if the penny dropped in a way. I don't know why it's as if everything just I had this sudden oh, hang on,
epiphany moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that what he does at Christmas time
Yeah, that's lovely.
with the YouTube channel, that's pretty good.
Yeah, because I must admit, because there's a lot of people out there that, and I know some that and I do admire them, because a lot of them, they might be the only one in their family that's vegan. And I just think how good you are to stand on your own, because, you know, you could quite easily give in to like the peer pressure and that. But
well, it's a lonely time, isn't it? If you're the only one sat at the table watching, you know, a group, you know, a family group then eating like turkey or beef or whatever they've got, and all the trimmings with it, and that pizza advert for Christmas, you remember that one where they're sat down at the dinner table and there's like blood splashing at their faces? That comes to mind.
Because I very often find that when you're around, it's almost people, because I know Roger was saying that some people were saying that about being scared of vegans, but I don't know if it like they feel like not intimidated, but they almost feel like, because I know when I've been around some non-vegans, it's almost they have to push their views on me. Like when I would never push my views on someone else, I would like them to understand and be educated on, you know, what actually happens. But you do feel sometimes that like when you're around like non-vegans, then they really sort of like, oh well, I love my chicken. Oh,
but that's in defence though, I think, isn't it? Because they think you're saying you're better than them. I think that's what I think it is. I mean, you might disagree, but I think that's probably what it is.
I know before I went vegan, I always used to feel almost like guilty around vegans or even vegetarians, because you feel like, because I think you do know it's wrong, but then it's just like, I don't know, it's just... But I do think that it's lovely that people, they have that safe space that they can go to. It's lovely what Roger does for them.
I think it's a really good idea, and in fact, if he's doing it this Christmas, I might just join in for
just
a few
pop
seconds.
in and say hello.
Yeah, say hello.
Lovely.
Merry Christmas. It's funny you should say that though, because that sort of leads on to the fact that, do you remember he said about the farmers? That a lot of the time he'll say to them, do you know what happens? And they don't know what happens when they go to the slaughterhouse.
And very often, like what he says, that they don't want to almost see them getting loaded on the
drive
truck.
off down to another side of the field.
At the end of the day, I suppose we all need to make a living just to, you know, survive, don't we? And this is, I mean, you can't, like, not to make an enemy of a farmer, because we still need them for crops, we need them for hay, we need them
just, yeah.
But this is what I love about Sentient Rights Ireland, because they work with farmers on educating them, and like how they'll do like projects with them.
That's right, transitioning,
which I think is such a lovely thing to do, because working, rather than work against them, you're working with them.
Yeah, like you say, I think once you put up that barrier, it's hard to win people over, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of like these sanctuaries and stuff that obviously need to work alongside farmers, because obviously they need hay and whatnot, and you know, you understand the farmer at the end of the day is trying to make a living, you know, at, you know, the exploitation of the animals. But if they can, you know, work with sort of people like Sentient Rights and actually be educated and actually transition over to different methods of farming, it'd be so much better, wouldn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's for sure. But otherwise, anything else you want to say on it? Because, I mean, I found Roger I think he's very observant, and, I mean, he's just really fascinating to talk to, but he's very passionate about the history of veganism and not to lose the message, which I can quite see why now.
Yeah, because, like, you know, things can get lost in translation, can't they? Because there's a lot of people that, like you say, like, for more welfare than for, like what he says, like, and is it like the part one, like, we're not fighting for bigger cages, we want empty cages at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. That Melanie Joy book, now, I've got the book. But I listened to it. Was a bit lazy. I thought I'd listen to it because you can listen to a free book on Audible every so often. So I had this free book choice. So I thought, I do a lot of walking, so I thought I'd listen to it. And, you know, he said in the notes, if you look on page, I think it was 131, I'd missed that bit, what she'd said, because it's in the notes. It's in the footnotes. And they don't say the footnotes, I don't think, when you're listening to a book. So, yeah, I'd missed that. So it just shows that how it can be misinterpreted. You know, the book, you know, if I'd have seen that, I'd have probably thought, it would have put alarm bells up with me. But I'm sort of glad that Roger pointed it all out, because I did think a lot of Melanie Joy. I did used to think she was kind of great, but if she's just part of Reducitarian Brigade, then I don't want to bar her that, you know.
It's almost like they don't want to quite make that leap because they almost don't want to.
It's making excuses.
Yeah, they don't want to like give up their cheese, or they don't want to give up. Because it's still, because a reducitarian isn't a philosophy, is it? It's like a diet thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it reduces it to veganism to a diet. It's a bit like that time when we saw, do you remember we saw a chap in Sainsbury's and he was buying some chocolate?
And he still had like honey.
Yeah, we got chatting to him, didn't we? And he said, I'm vegan, but I still have honey and I still eat eggs. And we were like, well, you're not really strictly vegan. And he is, yes, I am vegan. Well, you're not really, are you?
No, because you're still, it's the exploitation of those animals still, isn't it, you know?
Exactly. So there you go. It's all about animal exploitation. So, yeah. But, so you're vegetarian, mate. But I didn't want to argue with him too much because he was a lot taller than me. And he was bigger, wasn't he? He was quite a big, burly bloke. But there you go. I suppose it's all the protein from those eggs. How many times we got that at the weekend, but we don't get our protein? You know. But there you go. Apart from that, no, I was pleased with that interview. I thought it was really quite good.
Yeah, I really liked that interview.
Yeah. Learned an awful lot, and I still am. Check out, now he's got a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube channel, he's got 3 different programs that I know of, 3 different programs, I suppose you call them, do you? That you can watch. Time Tunnel, which kind of delves into history of veganism. And also as well, you've got the Animal Rights Show with Wendy McGovern and Nella Giatracu. I hope I'm saying that right. But he did want to say a special thank you to them, didn't he?
Yeah.
And also he does Still Alive with Ronnie Lee. So they are 3 really good programs to watch on YouTube if you get time. He does put an awful lot up about the history of the Vegan Society, which is good for me. Absolutely love it. So it's like he said before, like a lot of people think that veganism started with like Sir Berthlin Ed.
Yeah.
No,
it was born out of the war, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it even goes back a little bit further than that if you really delve back. But yeah, I think that's like when they started giving it a name and
like sort of formed as a society.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, thank you so much, Roger, for your interview.
Yeah, thank you. That was lovely.
Yeah, really good interview.
Really mind opening, isn't it?
Yeah. So I suppose we better think about going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time we've got I know we want to do some cooking, don't we? And
do some cooking. Might visit a sanctuary at some stage. We haven't got long till vegan camp out and Fairly Vegan.
No, and next week we are week after we're doing a lovely vegan picnic in Newbury, aren't we?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we are. We're getting anybody from the surrounding area that's vegan who doesn't eat eggs and doesn't still eat honey.
But you're welcome to still come if you aren't vegan and come and try.
Actually, you're probably right there, because the thing is, if you tell people they can't come, if you prevent people coming along, then there's no chance of educating them, is there? So we just have a sit and a chill chat.
Yeah.
So I've forgotten the date of that.
Sunday the 26th.
Sunday the 26th. Yeah. So we'll be in Victoria Park, 12 o'clock, Sunday the 26th.
Yeah.
Newbury.
Commute from worldwide.
Yeah. You're welcome to come over as well, Roger. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time out, Roger, to give us the interview. Really interesting. And thank you for taking the time out to watch us today.
Yeah.
And if you go out and you want to do something today, I never say this right. If you're going to go out and do something today,
be kind, is it?
There, yeah.
I didn't want to get that wrong.
Do you know, you got it right. Oh. We must actually make a little phrase up.
Yeah.
Because I can never think. You got to be kind. Just be kind.
Just today, not tomorrow.
Yeah, and don't exploit anybody. Animals or non-human and human.
As Roger Yates said, justice for all.
That's right. Justice for all. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Bye.